So today class we can discuss about biological neural networks and artificial neural networks. First, there is definition and what is biological neural networks and what is artificial neural networks. See this diagram. A grandfather, he is teaching a grandchild about learning new things. So what is neural network? It is nothing but it is the process of learning the relationship between cause and effect and organize a large volumes of data into order as well as informative patterns. So biological neuron, imagine our human brain. So what is neural network means? We have to make our system or model to work like a human brain. But that human brain means we have to make in artificial manner. So normally human brain how it is working. So we are having more 10 power 16 billions of neurons is connected inside the brain. That is, there are different parts like input unit, processing unit as well as output units. So similarly, so we have to make an artificial neuron that should replicate a human brain. So for that we have to provide the input as well as we have to process and we have to get the output. So for creating a new model, first we have to develop the model. So for developing the model, so first we have to train the model. So after training the model, so we have to predict the model and we have to find the model and it has to we have to update the learning parameters. That is, there are different types of learning parameters are there. That is, we can say weights, bias, learning rates and different types like iterations. Then we can say it is batch size and then we can say epochs. So these are the different parameters are to learn the network. So what we have to make means, we have to update the weights as well as bias. So by updating the weights as well as bias, then only we can reduce the error. Then we can say the network is learned. The completion learning process is completed. So by this way, network learn new things. So after completing this type of training, we can implement this network into real applications. So that it can predict the current images based on past data. That is nothing but neural networks. So for example, it is a neural network is a processing paradigm, information inspired by nervous system such as neurons. That is, the structure is nothing but there are large number of interconnected neurons are connected together, that is working together, that is nothing but a neural network. So it has learned based on the experience, that is nothing but neural networks. So definition of ANN, this is a definition, it is a data processing system consisting of large number of highly interconnected neurons processing elements, that is called artificial neurons, in an architecture inspired by the structure of the cerebral cortex of the brain. So that means we have to make large number of artificial neurons that we have to interconnect in a structural manner to perform a specific task. So for this we have to provide the input and it will process and provides the output. So based on the experience or based on the previous data or based on the previous training data, it gives the current processing function. So that is nothing but artificial neural network. So we have to make human brains and we have to make to work human brain artificially by training them. So we have to train the model before implementing into real-time applications. That is nothing but artificial neural networks. So this is the inspiration, this is the idea, this is the prior methodology to get ANN. So normally this is the structure of the human brain that is based on neurobiology. So we are having neurons and we consist of nucleus, then dendrites, then we can say axon, then we can say synapse. So these are all the different parts of the neurons. So here dendrites act as a input units, like it is nothing but every neurons having more there is different types of more number of dendrites. So it acts as a input units and nucleus. So inside this nucleus, so we are having processing unit. That processing unit name is called soma. And next one is axon. It is a long fiber like cable. So it is used to connect one neuron into another neuron. So that is will act as a output units. Then Synapse, it sends the information into another neurons. It connects the different types of neurons. So this is the structure of the normal biological neural network. That means it consists of soma, then we are having axon, then we are having dendrites, then we are having synapse. So these are all the different parts of the biological neural networks. So here dendrites will act as a input, then soma will perform the processing function, then axon is used to connect one neurons into another neuron, synapson it is used to provide the signal into another neurons. So this is nothing but the structure of the biological neural networks. So similarly we have to create a artificial neural network which consists of input units, then processing units, then output units. So between input and processing, that is processing units, we are having the parameter that is called learning parameters, that is called training parameters. We can say like example, that is we can say weight as well as bias. So weight as well as bias, it is a learning parameter which we are using in the artificial neural network to adapt the neural network model into, to train the model into implementation of practical applications. So this is about the structure of biological neural networks. So similar manner we have to construct the artificial neural networks which consist of input unit, processing unit as well as output unit. So based on this only we are developing the AI model which will work as a, which will make us a artificial neural networks. So this is about artificial neural network. So this is called a biological neural networks. A biological neural network, we can say, I already discussed it. There are three types of components. One is called dendrites, and one more is called soma, and one more is called axon. Dendrites, it is the input unit. It will act as a input unit. Then cell body, otherwise soma, it is the processing unit. Then axon, it is a connecting link, large cable like a connecting link which connects the one neuron into another neuron. Similarly, see the example, see what they are telling. Dendrites receives the signals from other neurons. The soma sums the incoming signal. When sufficient input is received, the cell fires, then that is transmit a signal over its axon to other cells. So this is the normal process which is happening in the biological neural networks. So similar manner, so we have to make a artificial neural networks to process the input data from input unit into output unit. So normally any that is artificial neural network which is consist of input unit, processing unit, output unit. Similar like we can compare with biological neural network. Here dendrites will act as a input, cell body will act as a axon, that is similarly input, then processing unit, then finally we are having axon, that is called the output unit. So this is a comparison between biological neural network as well as artificial neural networks. So this is about the biological neural networks, then artificial neural networks. So this is about artificial neurons. It is nothing but it is an information processing system that has certain performance characteristics in common with biological needs. The processing elements, that is receives the signals, then signals modified by a weight at the receiving synapses. The processing element sums the weighted inputs. Under appropriate circumstances, the neuron transmits a single output. The output of a particular neuron may go to the many other neurons. So this is the different features of the artificial neurons. So this is about the comparisons, and this is about the functions of biological neural networks as well as artificial neural networks. So from next class onwards, we can discuss about the applications as well as in detail about biological neural networks.